So a lot of people are asking me, how are you coping with this new Airbnb environment? And first and foremost, I'd like to let people know that Airbnb is just merely a platform to get bookings. I'm in a hospitality business, and what I provide are accommodations. And those accommodations could be in the form of a apartment, a loft, a 2-bedroom apartment, or a house, right? So what I'm doing differently is I'm cutting my costs. That's step number one. So for example, I'm gonna show you this building. I had this building for about 5 years, right? It was very lucrative for the developer, it was lucrative for me. At the time, things were a little different. So 5 years ago, you know, the market was pretty good in Tampa. So to get a listing or to get a developer to hand over his building, I would have to offer 10 or 20% over asking. And when I say over asking, meaning over the rental price. Now, fast forward 5 years later, the market has caught up. So yes, revenues are down, but regular rentals are actually up. So in a case like this, looking at the portfolio and other buildings that we're purchasing and operating, this seemed like one of those things where, you know what, maybe it's time in this environment to give it back to the developer. So another thing to look at why revenues could be down on Airbnb is you got to look at the location, right? Location, and different locations have different regulations. More regulations could be harder to do business. In this particular location, I'm in Tampa, Florida. So Tampa, Florida has well, I don't want to say Florida. Tampa has loose regulations when it comes to short-term rentals. That's number one. Number two, specific properties that we're either developing or leasing, we put hotel, motel licenses on them. And also we make sure that they're in a commercially zoned mixed use area where we wouldn't have a problem with the city or the county. And we definitely don't do HOAs. So rising regulation could also cause a decrease in revenue for Airbnb. So this particular building is undergoing renovations, and in the current market, it's actually better suited as a regular rental. See, 5 years ago, when we started operating this was kind of like a trial and error. But now we are at the point where we're specifically developing homes and apartment complexes for short-term rental use. So even though this was a proving ground, we proved the concept. 5 years later, it's going back to regular rentals. So not only I'm cutting costs, I'm looking at the properties that I'm operating / leasing. And this is good if you're doing rental arbitrage. Like for example, these are 4 brand new houses, right? So these brand new houses, they're operating efficiently. They don't look dingy. I know when the guests come, they're gonna love it. It's in a nice area. You know, I used to have properties when I was starting out. I was eager to, this one owner would let me use their properties for short-term rental, but I was overpaying. The house was old. The guests were never satisfied. So I decided as I was moving up in this business, I was gonna get all new everything. So that's one of the main things I'm doing. I'm leasing all new properties. I'm building new properties. We're developing new properties specifically to weather whatever storm that may or may not come. So that's an important thing too. And third, let's talk about the operation. And I'm gonna show you something inside of here. Now, if you was listening, I never mentioned anything about downsizing. I strictly said, looking at costs, swapping out properties, right? You gotta be able to pivot. One thing I'm pivoting is the kind of accommodation, the type of accommodations I'm getting. I'm moving more towards weeklies, dailies, monthlies, and relying less on vacationers. Vacation travel is dropped. That's just where we're at. So, there's more people out there that are uncertain. They're not 100% sure, or they don't have the money for first, last, and security. So until they get their finances in order, we might be able to accommodate them for a month or so. Let's say they're moving into town from somewhere. They just left California. They just left New York. Hey, we don't know where to move. Well, we have a space that you could fully furnish, ready to go, turnkey, for let's say $5,000 a month, $4,000 a month, right? So that's kind of how I'm pivoting also. And I know some people in the luxury space, I can't really speak for the luxury space. Some luxury spaces, depending on what market that you're in, are still doing good, but I tend to stay away from too much luxury. The actual good price points in this business, well, the business I'm in, the price points that stay booked are between $120 to $220. So if you're operating a property in the 3s, 4s, 5s, 6, good luck. If you have a nice property and it could fall between 120, 150, 170, 200, 220, and you can still make a good margin with those prices, then I would say you're in good shape. And I'm just specifically speaking for the Tampa market. So not only are these houses brand new, good location, they all have hot tubs on them. So also looking at amenities to stay competitive. So brand new hot tubs, great location, all within a price point between 120 and 220, which is a price point which is easy to get booked here in the Tampa Bay market. So you gotta know your market, know your price points, get realistic with everything. Diversify, right? So you could have nice houses. You could have nice buildings. I like to have a variety of things across all spectrums. If you call in and you say, hey, you got 5 people with you, and we tell you we have a house for 300, and you say, ooh, that's too much. I'm gonna say, listen, I got something for 120, 130. I got something that for everybody, so I'm kind of trying to have a diversified portfolio. Some people might just have a bunch of luxury houses. Some people might just have a bunch of low-end apartments. Here, I try to have a wild spectrum. And let me give you an example. So for example, this property, it's kind of on the lower end, but we had somebody paying $160 a day, and they were here for roughly, I believe, 20 days. So they checked out. So really, the cost on this apartment, my cost is about, let's say, $1,500. The person was here for 20 days, 160 times 20, right? That's $3,200. So there's definitely money in dailies and weeklies. Now, what's the catch? Why would someone essentially pay $3,200 for 20 days? Well, it all depends on the type of property you have and the type of operator you have. The houses I just sent you, even though you can get them at a good price, you must have a card on file, you must have a security deposit. Where an accommodation like this, we might not necessarily take a card on file, we might not necessarily take a security deposit, and we might maybe sometimes even take cash. So we're very flexible. With those flexibilities, yes, it's high risk, but with high risk comes high reward. Another thing that we're doing to stay competitive is you gotta take a look at your cleaning costs. When everything was good, believe it or not, actually having a cleaning business that caters specifically to short-term rentals could be a very lucrative business. Sometimes cleaners make more than the host or the property owners themselves. If they're charging $125, or they could charge upwards of $200 or $300 for larger houses. Now, as a large operator as myself, I can't do that. So how we're moving forward is we're taking a look at our costs. So instead of maybe hiring a large cleaning company, we're maybe hiring internally or hiring individual smaller companies, giving them more work at a more reasonable rate. With hiring multiple cleaning companies, you do have to make sure you have the adequate staff for that, because you do want to have consistency across all of your homes. And the only way you can really have consistency if you're kind of controlling the cleaning supplies, where they're stored, the sheets and the linen. In our case, we make sure that all of the sheets, all of the cleaning supplies are consistent across the entire company. So any company that comes in, they know, hey, we could go to this location, grab a set of sheets, grab the materials we need, you know, XYZ. Houses in Tampa, I'm personally still purchasing these 5 houses. There's 4 now. There's a 5th one that's gonna be built as soon as the 4 is done, because I believe in the Tampa market. The Tampa market is still a hot market, even with the higher interest rates. Me being an operator kind of offsets the higher interest rates. I feel confident with the market and the strategies I was talking about before, with the weeklies, the monthlies, the nightlies, not necessarily focusing too much on vacationers, although this is a vacation area. It doesn't look like it, but we're not too far from Ybor. So this location has a lot going for it. On top of that, I'm doing a lot of business with the developer. So there's a deal structure here that works for me and him. So, you know, the interest rates, I'm not really too worried about that. And then also, right, I'm getting these 5 houses for roughly $2 million. I'm putting 25% down, or 500 and something thousand down on these houses. But I do feel, based off the market, that these could probably maybe double in a couple of years. You know, maybe 5 or 6, or these could double. So I'm invested in the possible equity. I'm investing because I could operate them. And that's why I'm personally still buying in this climate. Now, when I started out, I personally used to lease from developers or individual homeowners. Hey, can I lease your home for rental arbitrage, right? Now, with having 5 houses, I have the option to where I might operate all 5 for myself. I might operate maybe 2 or 3 as short-term rentals, or I might let someone do rental arbitrage and lease from me and do short-term rentals on their own. So with having 5, you have a lot of flexibility and options. The reason why I'm not too worried about the slowdown of Airbnb, because I know other people are. And when there's fear, there are gonna be people who are gonna jump out the business, people who were not running efficiently, people who didn't negotiate their contracts correctly. And where will we be? We'll be here, operating efficiently, effectively, with internal cleaners, not paying too much for cleaners, not paying too much on our mortgage or lease agreements. We'll have an efficient operation, and whatever void is in the market, we'll be here to capture that. Yes. Is Airbnb slowing down? Maybe. Is it slowing down for us? Not really. So I put this content out there, I put this video out there for people looking to invest in the Tampa market. And if you're gonna invest in the Tampa market or you're gonna invest with me, I want you just to get a little bit of background on why I'm personally investing and what I'm looking for in the Tampa market. And if you wanna consult with me or you wanna do some business with me or you wanna find deals like this or jumping on deals like this, I'm available.